Tensions are escalating in the ongoing US-Canada trade war as President Trump announces he'll double tariffs on steel and aluminium imports from Canada to 50%, despite the drastic measures Trump hinted at the possibility of reducing the tariffs if Canadian officials agree to the negotiations. Now, the trade dispute has caused significant fluctuations in financial markets this week, with fears of inflation growing among investors. And it comes as the White House now rejects Australia's bid for an exemption from steel tariffs too. What does it all mean? For more, we're joined by Brad Gastworth from Unearthing Opportunities, who's in Florida. Great to see you.
Hey, thank you, Aaron.
All right, it's been a week of tariffs. It's been a week of market fluctuations. The Dow dropping again, dropped yesterday as well. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of interesting surprises here. I mean, obviously, the trade escalation is continuing. I think all eyes are on what Trump will do next. I mean, clearly, increasing the tariffs to Canada. We're seeing the market reacting negatively. I think there's been some concerns about the U.S. going into recession. A lot of cross currents right now, but mostly all eyes on this trade war, which, as I said on your program previously, I do not expect it to get better anytime soon.
There's just so much confusion, right? Because it seems to be going back and forwards. There's a lot of whiplash for investors, as well as for these poor different countries. You've got Canada there, Australia now involved too. What is the White House doing? Is the whole idea of just trying to shake things up and to I guess, get people off that feeling of comfortability?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising. I mean, I can't speak for the White House, but from my perspective, I think that Trump wants to go in there and make a stance. And I think he's been very aggressive. He sort of lived up to his hype of what he would do. I don't think it's really benefiting our closest allies in the past. And I think there's some concerns on what this means for the economy going forward. But ultimately, I mean, his mindset is right in making this country great again. I think the way he's going around it is concerning. But ultimately, I think we need to see what happens going forward. I think right now, the trade war is going to continue. I mean, obviously, you had Canada talk about the increase in tariffs, and then Trump right away says, okay, we're going to raise it to 50%, and then we might even raise it again on April 2nd. A lot's going on. I'm a little bit more concerned here on the stock market. I think globally, the cross currents are more concerning. We've had a reflection of that. I think that downside pressure might continue here.
Anyone who's used LinkedIn, and I know you do, obviously always hears the term, you're only as powerful as your close network. The United States, what's it doing to its allies? The idea of make America great again sounds terrific, but if you've got no friends and no one wants to work with you, then how powerful and how great are you really?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not endorsing. I'm just making a comment in terms of his mindset going in, and nobody could speak for him but himself. But in terms of, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, some of our closest allies we're certainly starting fights with, but I think ultimately, he's trying to get pricing better for the Americans. He's trying to get more jobs here. Many could argue that he's going about it the wrong way. Which is certainly causing all these tensions globally, and I think there's just a lot of things that are interesting that I think will continue to be overhangs for the market. But yeah, I mean, you're right on that. On the ally side, we're certainly not making friends right now.
It's interesting you're talking about the markets, and President Trump has been busy at a breakfast business meeting, basically trying to allay the fears of the business investment community as to what has happened over the past week. Donald Trump has said he doesn't look at the markets, which I don't know if we can believe that, but the markets have dropped. They dropped when he first announced that he'd be bringing in tariffs. After 2 days, he wound that back after a phone call with the Mexican president and the Canadian Prime Minister, and then it comes back in last week, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose on the stock market. How do you think he can say to investors, stick with me here? Because he's now refusing to rule out a recession. He's now talking about how basically there's going to be short-term pain. But do people understand what the long-term gain will be? And does the term make America great again cut it in terms of detail?
No, I mean, a lot to digest from there, Aaron. Ultimately, I mean, there's a really bifurcated United States. I mean, you have half the country that's incredibly supportive, and you have half the country that's incredibly not supportive. You have, very mixed and bifurcated class here. So when I say the statement, make America great again, I mean, that's really what his mantra is. But in terms of just going down to, the normal person in the United States, one out of two is a supporter and the other one is not. So it's very bifurcated in terms of what's going on in thoughts. I think there's just a lot of concerns on, looking at the market and looking at, the negative overhangs. We have inflation that is absolutely going to happen. You can't ignore it. You have other economic indicators that are coming negative. I know that he's trying to make people feel better. I also believe he's looking at the market, and he's even been very aggressive making the comments about trying to make sure that market goes higher. I don't know if he has enough arsenal in his belt to do that right now.
Yeah, all right.